Welcome to Biztech's CEO Conversation Show, the show where we engage industry leaders to share insights into how they run and grow their organizations. Today, our conversation is with Andreas Gerstenmayer, the Chief Executive Officer of AT&S and Chairman of the Management Board. AT&S is headquartered in Austria and is a printed circuit board manufacturer focused on high-end printed circuit board technology. Hi, Andreas, welcome to the show.
Hi, good afternoon.
Now, Andreas, when we think of Austria, we think of the Austrian Alps, we think of the capital of classical music, we think of the Vienna Boys Choir. Now, you certainly will not think about printed circuit boards. Now, give us an overview of AT&S and its history.
Yeah, thank you very much for providing this opportunity. I think, yes, the nice music in Austria is a good background for our technology. So basically, yeah, AT&S is well established over a couple of decades, established printed circuit board company, but also we are more and more moving into the IC substrate area closer to the semicon industry, and also moving on to more cover the part of the back end of the semicon industry in future. So you know all about packaging. This is what we are targeting for, and becoming more a solution provider company than being just a PCB company. Now, so there's a huge transformation ongoing in the company.
So now, as part of your transformation, again, I think you're betting down on Ajinomoto build-up film, or ABF, which is very valuable in the global semiconductor industry. Tell us why and what is it used for?
Yeah, we started this journey already in 2013 because it's quite a lot of activities necessary to be prepared for entering into that market. It's a very technology-driven market. Your customers are typically the semicons of the world, covering the microprocessor business, and an IC substrate, or you called it ABF film-based substrates. It's about connecting the silicon, which is structured in nanometers structures, out to the micro millimeter structures of the PCBs. So it's somehow an interface between the silicon and the outside world.
And so one of your technology advantages is the fact that you can put through a lot of different, more layers than some of your competitors. Am I correct? And that's the technology-driven advantage that you have.
This is one for sure. The accuracy of the processes that you really can achieve a good production yield and good efficiency in terms of output, because that is heavily impacting the reliability of the components, but also on the other hand side, the competitiveness of the company. But this is not the only thing. The other thing is that you're able to really run very stable processes, because these kind of products are very sensitive about the quality of processes. Within the production area, you need to be very, very sensitive about, for example, foreign materials, which you need to cover by clean room conditions, accuracy of processes, but also discipline of workers. And on the other hand side, also you need to move on with your technology development. So AT&S typically is an innovation-driven company. We are always a little bit different than our competitors because we try to anticipate the future technology needs from our customers to be prepared for new technologies once they already need it. So this is why we try to create kind of time-wise competitive advantage.
Okay, so you've also stated a goal, and that's from you, that you want AT&S to become one of the world's 3 biggest makers of ABF substrates within the next 4 years. Now, the other 2 guys in the equation are Taiwan's Unimicron Technology and Japan's Ibiden company. How do you intend to achieve this top 3 position?
As I said, we started our journey in the IC substrate in 2013. We started volume production, high volume production in 2016. And already today we are on a number 5 position by having a huge investment in our first plant in Chongqing, middle west of China. We did a decision to expand the capacities in China 2019 by investing 1 billion euro at the same location in a new plant. So this is now under ramp conditions, and in 2 years the will be the plant will be fully ramped. And in parallel now we initiated this huge project in Kulim Hi-Tech Park, where we will create 2 factories in parallel to come on stream in 2024. So by executing these huge investment projects, adding huge additional capacities, we are quite confident that our plan to become one of the top 3 players in the world is a realistic one.
Okay, and why Malaysia?
Yeah, Malaysia. We did a global scouting project where we really looked into each and every region and country which is thinkable. And we narrowed it down by doing different calculations and checking what is the advantage of the one or the other place. Finally, we ended up in Malaysia because of the well-mature developed ecosystem for semiconductors, well-developed supply chain for materials, but also we are quite confident that we will get enough skilled labor force to, on the one hand side, support our production ramp. And this is huge because finally, when we have ramped the factory in 4 or 5 years, we will have built up a labor force between 6,000 to 7,000 people on site from today's almost 0. So this is huge increase. And on the other hand side, we want to establish a very close interaction with the local universities to drive on the innovation and the technology development.
And so this would be interesting because you achieved 2 things as well. One of which is you're closer to your customer Intel, which has R&D facilities in Malaysia, in addition to production facilities. Also, by working closely with the universities, is the strategy then to have some R&D work being eventually done in Malaysia? Because, as you said, the ecosystem is in place.
I have to comment on one other topic you mentioned before. So you are sometimes mentioning potential customers of us. I will not confirm or deny anything on that, because we are simply not allowed to talk about our customers. But this is typical for AT&S. This we have been doing in the PCB area for last couple of years already, and we will also do it in the IC substrate area as well. We call it co-development activities with our customers. So we prepare on our side as far as we can technology platforms, and then we derive from there the specific applications and solutions together with our customers. This is important, especially in the high-end area, because you need the customer requirements, you need the customer applications to be well understood, and to also create the necessary interaction with the silicon, for example, when we talk about the IC substrates.
Now, Andreas, one of the things that has in some ways benefited positively as well as negatively the semiconductor industry is the COVID-19 pandemic. On one hand, you've had a surge in demand. On the other hand, you have supply chain issues. You have the inability to meet this surge in demand. Could you give us some perspectives of how it's impacted AT&S?
Yeah, from the supply chain side, we so far could manage it quite nicely. So for sure, we had a lot more interaction with our suppliers. We had to do more capacity reservation in advance, but I think so far we managed it quite well. On the other hand side, for sure, we see significant price increases on the material side. Either it's the chemicals, the chemistry, or the base materials. But on the other hand side, on the customers, we clearly see two impacting factors. The one is in our PCB area, for example, everybody knows about the automotive business, that this is heavily impacted. There we see for sure some limitation or push out of demands. On the other hand side, in the semicon world, we see a lot of pull-ins because the customers simply need more of our components, because the IC substrate is today one of the limiting factors for the output of the microprocessor industry.
So the semiconductor industry is not something where you can turn on the tap and increase production overnight.
Exactly.
When do you see this current supply constraints easing and getting back to some level of normalcy?
This is manifold question, because we need to start where the whole thing started. I think it's not so much about COVID. It started already in 2019, because that time also in the automotive business, the demand was a little bit flat, slightly decreasing already because of technical changes, uncertainties in the market, and so on and so on. So this finally ended up that the semicon industry skipped one investment cycle, which would have been necessary in 2019 already. And this finally is now the fundamental reason why we have this situation. Now we had the COVID. Everyone tried to shut down, close up storage, things like that. So the whole supply chain was cleaned up. And then we have seen mid-2020 and 2020 a very steep increase in demand. And the recovery was so steep after the very steep downturn. So now we have a complete mess in the global supply chains, and that needs to be restabilized. And that will take a while, besides the missing capacities that need to be built up now. So everyone is investing like hell, and everyone tries to reestablish the global supply chain in the industry. So
Andreas, so here is then the problem as well, and I'm taking your words. Everyone is investing like hell. But the semicon industry, if you look at it from a historical standpoint, 30, 40-year period, is always characterized by a boom and bust cycle. Is there a danger of impending a sharp correction as all this production capacity probably comes on stream in the next 24 to 48 months?
I think this risk is always associated with situations like we have it today. It's a very volatile environment. It's a very dynamic environment, but it's different impacting factors. The one is, as I said before, it was the missing investment cycle already in 2019. We have the disturbance of the global supply chain. So now everyone tries to get what he can get from the supply chain. For sure, there's a certain risk for overheating the whole thing. But on the other hand side, we also see a significant sharp increase on the demand side because of the increasing digitalization. So people work from home, children are homeschooling. Everything is causing significant higher demand, especially in the microprocessors.
And the whole new industry of automotive and the electrification journey and the move away from internal combustion engine has really given your industry just that quantum leap in terms of demand for components, isn't it?
And this is one part, but I think the more important part is when we talk about digitalization, we talk definitely or fundamentally about data. So the volume of data, first of all, needs to be generated. So we have all the sensors, we have the end devices like smartphone, PCs, and so on and so on. So the data generation already requires smart devices. A smart device is always characterized that it has certain intelligence inside, and the intelligence is created by a microprocessor. So then we have to transmit the data. So you need to bring the data from place A to place B. All the data transmission via 4G, 5G, whatever we have, again, needs to be managed. We have the data storage in the data centers. Again, you have very powerful machines to manage the data. And finally, you do data analytics, because without that, data are useless. Yes. And again, you need very powerful machines there. So for me, the car, for example, is just one of the end devices. When you talk about the autonomous driving car, it generates tons of data, but they will follow the same way. They are generated in the car, they need to be processed, they need to be transmitted, and they need to be analyzed wherever it is. And all this sharp increase of data growth, data volume growth, this is heavily impacting the business we are in with the microprocessors. And the prognosis that we see from the analysts, it's tremendous. It's 3-digit percentage numbers growth for the next couple of years.
And how is that going to impact you as AT&S? What's your forecast in the next 12, 24, 36 months for the business?
Yeah, as we said, so with our investment, we will be able to grow from today's almost 1.3 billion euros revenues to above 3-point-something billion euro revenues in 2025, 2026, our fiscal year. So you can see it's a significant growth. We are not close to tripling our revenues within 5 years. And this is, I think this is tremendous growth, driven by our heavy investment in China, but also now driven by our even more heavier investment here in Malaysia.
Andreas, it's been a fascinating and informative conversation. Now, before we leave, what are final words that you could leave us with before we end the conversation?
Yeah, it depends whom we are talking to. If we talk to our investors, I think AT&S is a great place to be, because we are at the beginning of a tremendous growth story. So, and the company will transform into a complete new shape within the next 5 years. If you talk to the Malaysian community, for example, we will need a lot of well-skilled people within the next couple of months or a couple of quarters. So everyone who will join us, who wants to be part of a great success story, just join AT&S. And I think the rest, I think we will be able to generate very nice contribution to the Malaysian society, creating good job opportunities, and also having a close interaction with the society and the university.
Andreas, thank you very much for your insights, and thank you very much for taking your time to be on the show.
Thank you for this nice conversation.
Now, I'm Brian Fernandez, and I've been speaking to Andreas Gerstenmayer, Chief Executive Officer of AT&S and Chairman of the Management Board, on Biztech's CEO Conversation Show. This video and podcast will be on our various social media platforms, as well as our website, www.biztech.asia. Please like and subscribe to our various platforms. Thanks a lot for tuning in.